first it was unfortunate, with Zach, and it really wasn't until a couple days ago when he kind of got the final tests and what he needs to do to fix that. So you feel bad. Again, a guy that missed a lot of games last year and I thought was doing some really good things. But Tyler's been impressive in the way that he's grown. I think when he came here, really hadn't played a lot of defense, period. But guys got a tremendous amount of respect from everyone on the team, coaches and players, because of the way that he works and approaches it. And so I think he's put himself in position, to grow and truly earn the opportunity, that will be there for him. And I think also at that position, when you're talking about depth, it'll be good, or it's been good to get Christian Bell back into things, and it'll be interesting to see how he progresses. Certainly feel good with what Andrew Van Ginkel's done, and then with Leon and duels. But you feel bad for Zach, but I think that Tyler and Christian, it'll be interesting to see how they continue to progress, which we need them to.
Hey, Paul, when did you kind of know that Jonathan Taylor may be able to be a main player for you this year, and I guess listed as a co-starter? Was it more what he did later in camp, or did you kind of know throughout camp that he would probably play this big of a role?
I think that we were certainly excited when Jonathan came here, and then as camp progressed, and when you keep adding more and more to their plate, and with freshmen in general, and if they can handle it, that gives you a good indication. And certainly he's talented, and we feel good about the number of guys at that position that will contribute, and Jonathan certainly being one of them. But I think it progressed through camp, and I think the first young guys scrimmage, he did some good things, and then earned the right to get some more reps, and with the ones and with the twos, and continued to progress, and so that's why we feel like he's ready to contribute.
Paul, what did Jack Cohn show you, even back in spring and during fall camp, that showed you that he could be the backup quarterback?
Yeah, thought that, and still believe, Jack's talented, and it was going to be as much how he handled the amount of information. I thought spring he did a nice job of learning it and kind of attacking the learning end of it, and then continued to grow. And so I think that through fall camp, he did a nice job of building on the things I think that he felt pretty sure of from spring, but also adding to it. And then, I thought that he did some good things in the course of practice when we're scrimmaging, and some of those situations that aren't necessarily schematic situations, but more playing situations. And so, I've liked the progress that he's made, and certainly has a ton more to learn and many ways to grow, but I do feel like he had a good camp.
How do you feel about your special teams, your kicking game in particular, going into this season, Paul?
Going in, feel good, and certainly we've got a number of guys that are back. The one exception to that would be Adam Bay, our snapper, and I think Adam's done a good job in camp and got an understanding of really what all that position entails, and so. As far as the kickers, I think Hoff has had a good camp. I think PJ's done a nice job. Anthony Lottie's, I think, getting better, and so it's. I feel good, but it'll be another test. A group of our freshmen, whether they're true freshmen or redshirt freshmen, when they play that first game, and how they handle that. And I think. We got a glimpse of it in a simulated way, and on a Friday night scrimmage, but it's going to be ramped up times 10.
Paul, during these first few games, do you worry about burning Jack's red shirt, or is it more you want him to get some game time possibly in case something were to happen to Alex?
Yeah, I think that was the conversation that we had right away, and I think it's. We're going to have to. You hope that you only have to use two, but you never have gone a year where you're not using multiple players at different positions. And so I think, if a guy's ready to play, they need to be ready, and I think Jack is, and so I'm not worried about a red shirt right now for him.
What stands out about Utah State, and what do you think some keys to the game will be for you guys?
Well, I think as we study the film and these first games, every year are always a little unique because things change, whether it's schematics, even if the staff had stayed exactly the same, most likely there's going to be some differences. And yet I think there's a number of players that you can watch their film and you get an idea of who they were last year and project that they're only going to be better. I think they play with tremendous effort. Their schemes challenge you. And I think anytime you're looking at first games, there's a lot of the axioms that are for any football game. It's turnovers and it's being efficient and there's a lot of challenges to every football game and it doesn't matter who you're playing on some of the things that in the end lead to winning or not winning the game and then you try to do your best to prepare your players for what you think they'll see, but we know there's going to be things happen Friday night that we didn't see on film, that we didn't prepare for, and we've got to just make sure our kids know how to adjust to it and help them navigate those waters.
Paul, Chikwe and Alec have battled for playing time for a long time here. What can each of those guys give you? Are there something you feel like they can each do differently that they can strengthen the line there?
I think when you talk about our defensive line in general, there's some common denominators that's because they've played, you can say is who they are as players. And then, each guy does bring unique qualities. And I think the one area that I'm interested in seeing out of that group, and Chikwe and Alec, obviously, a big part of that group is can we raise the production level? And I think that, those two, Connor Sheehy, Olive, are more than capable of that. And so, can they continue to grow? And it's been good for me to see Chikwe, starting to come in as far as the health, and missed time, but feels good now, and it looks like that. And so, all of our guys are a little bit different, so there could be a long list there, but I think the biggest thing that I know Noke's challenged them with and that we want to see is they are capable of more production and getting that out of them.
Coach, obviously winning and playing on your home field is ideal, but winning on your home field to open the season, can that kind of set the stage, jump start the season for you guys on the right foot?
Absolutely. Every time that you get an opportunity to go out and play, it's a challenge. And, when you handle it and when you come out victorious, those are always good, whether it's the first game or the middle game, any of them, right? And so certainly you want to start the season off, being the best that you can and then learn the lessons and try to get better from that.
Paul, when we talked to Bob Bostad at some point in camp about some of the inside linebackers, Conley was out at the time, Orr was coming back, Farrar was just getting used to the position, and he said he still wasn't sure what he had with some of those guys. Especially with a guy like Farrar, where is he now in terms of his development after making that change from safety to the linebacker? Yeah,
I think with Arrington, he's certainly more comfortable today than he was probably 2 weeks ago, and we made that switch. It was middle towards the end of the last third maybe of spring football, so I think that gave him a little sense of what was coming, but really he hadn't dove into it. And so I think Arrington's done a nice job of continuing to learn the position, and I think there's moments where you can see the athleticism and his comfort now in playing it, and then there's still areas where he's continuing to learn, how to play that position. So I think, there's a group there. I think in TJ and Ryan, they've played a lot. Chris is really, I think one of his strengths is instincts and understanding. But it's been good to see him kind of get back to playing, and I think that's just happening now. And then you've got a younger group that Arrington's part of, that they're still progressing in their development. And so it's, I think we got a pretty good idea of what TJ and Ryan can do, Chris in a different way, and then there's 2 or 3 other backers, kind of alluding to what Bo said, that we're going to continue to find out probably through a lot of this season.
Paul, Danny, and AJ are listed in the 2 deep at wide receiver. Obviously, they had very good fall camps. Is this the deepest wide receiver group that you can remember in a while, even maybe going back to your days as offensive coordinator here?
I like the group, but I don't know about deepest. But I like the way they've worked, and I think that certainly Jazz has played now a lot of football, and then you've got a lot of youth, and it'll be good when we can get KP back and George back. But right now I think I like the group, but we've had deeper.
Well, can you talk about what Ryan Connolly has done well to beat out Chryst for that starting spot?
I think Ryan's played really well, and I think that he's playing fast. He's trusting himself, and I think he's a really good football player. And certainly we think Chryst is a good football player too. But Ryan's he looks comfortable, and he's played, and so I think that experience of playing and having started helped him in his preparation, and certainly, missed spring football, but I think he's come back and hasn't missed a beat. I've liked a lot of what Ryan's been doing. You only get so many. We were close.
This will be my last one. Do you envision Dietzen and Campoy battling throughout the season for that spot, or do you hope that's maybe resolved at some point where you have the same 5 going out there each week?
I think that for us to say anything right now, last year we did a lot of that, and I think it was good for Micah and John. And the number one thing that you hope for is that they're all available and going forward. But I think it's right now that's what we need to prepare to do. I think it's good for them, and I go back to what I said last year about the quarterback spot a lot. If guys earn the right to play, then they should play. And at some point throughout the season, maybe there's separation. But I think that both Micah and John have earned the right to play, and fortunately for us and for them, both have played in games. And so don't try to overthink it. We don't, as a staff, try to overthink it, and just because we want to play, you'd love to have a season where you play 5 guys, right, and there's no changes the whole time, but you'd never do that at the expense of a guy that's earned the right to play. And I think both of those would fit under that.